Hey guys, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're looking at the long-anticipated steel wheel Intrigue. Well, long-anticipated for me. I've had this knife for just over a month now, I think it is. 5 weeks, 4 weeks. Anyhow, I've had it for a little while, and no less than that. It's more like 3 weeks. I don't know why, time just feels like it. And now I finally got my shot at it, thanks in large part to White Mountain Knives. White Mountain Knives, they don't sponsor this channel or anything. I don't get any funds from them, but they do allow me to buy knives from them at a discount. And so I thank them very, very much. Thank you very much, guys. And that's why I talk about them and the coupon codes that I have so that you can buy knives at a discount. It's a win-win for everybody. And when you factor in the discount, they've definitely got the best price for the steel wheel Intrigue. This knife comes in two styles. This is the 3.6-inch blade. You can get a 3.26-inch blade as well, and that is the F15M. This is the F15, and then there's a dash and a number for the style. It comes in 3 styles in both sizes. You get the black satin blade. There's a gunsmoke grayish blue FRN with satin blade, and then there's a gray FRN with a black stonewash in both of those 2 different sizes. So if you're interested in a knife like this, and I hope you are, I think you'd like to stick around because we've got D2 steel here today. It is supper time on Friday when I'm recording this, so I will hope I get this all done in one take. Usually it takes me a few takes, like I'm recording for quite a while, but I don't want to be here for quite a while. So let's talk about this thing. FRN. I have to be honest, totally subjective, no science to back this up. FRN just feels cheap to me. But it's actually a decent type of plastic. We've got recessed liners in there. They're highly skeletonized, so you can't really see the liners until you get here to the liner lock. So I like the way that it's constructed. FRN offers enough grip with this pattern that they've got in here, this dog bone kind of pattern that they've got on both sides. So good grip in the hand when you're holding it. It just feels cheapish to me. I wish they'd make this with G10. I think they could do that without making the price point go so high that people wouldn't buy it. I think people would still buy it, for a few more dollars. Accents. These open pillar construction, they put red accents in this black one. So that really sets it off. I kind of like that. There's a lot of perspectives where, it just looks like a plain knife and then all of a sudden, bling. So that's really cool. One unique, well, it's not really unique because it has been done before. They've got a pin instead of a lanyard hole. So there's a tie-off pin right there. Pocket clip is held on with 3 screws and it's right and left. 1.5 centimeters sticking out of your pocket, about 1/2 inch. You've got a swelled section in the middle as far as this dimension. The thickness is just a flat knife. There's no shape to it really. It's just a flat knife on the sides and a little bit bigger in the middle. Feels good in the hand. We've got some jimping here for your thumb rest area, and that jimping is done very, very well. It's aggressive enough to be very functional, but not so aggressive that it bothers my skin at all. There's a little bit of jimping here on the flipper tab. So when the flipper tab's sitting there, it's sort of on a radius around just above the pivot right there. So it's designed for light switch method all day long, but you can push straight down. Well, you can't push straight down. You got to push back just a little bit and whack-a-mole. The thing just goes flying out. It's running on phosphor bronze washers. Washers are awesome. Ball bearings, there's just so much hype about ball bearings in the last 1.5 years. We sometimes forget that, yes, washers can be very smooth, can be very good, and these are done very, very well. We've got a nice drop point blade here. You got the thickness of the blade all the way up the first, well, not quite 3/4, but over 2/3 of the knife, it's all the one thickness of the blade, and then it starts to taper down near the tip. A nice high saber grind. That's a flat grind, comes very high up. You've got a nice sharpness choil right there, and then a good sharp edge. They did a great job grinding this thing. Actually, they did a good job grinding this thing. They did a great job with getting the nice angle, and we'll talk about that later. Sharpness, it could have been sharper, but not bad at all. And we'll talk about those details in a minute. Jimping here on the liner release, and then I think we've covered all the outside stuff of this. Let me take the knife apart and show you a few still pictures of the inside. It's an easy to work with knife. T6 is here, T8 up here, easy to take apart, easy to clean, easy to maintain. One of the problems with ball bearings is if you get into a lot of dirt and stuff, grime and things. Once those individual balls start getting gunky with, they can be a pain to clean. Whereas, a phosphor bronze washer, very easy to take this apart and clean it up. So that's one of the pros actually for this knife, because these days it's getting harder to find knives with ball bearings, even in the budget category. D2 steel, Rockwell hardness, usually around 60, sometimes a little bit lower, sometimes a little above. D2 can handle being hardened, all the way up to like 63 if you want it to, but then it gets a little bit brittly and chippy at the edge. I'm assuming that steel wheel has this right around 60, maybe 61, maybe 59, around there. The shape of the blade makes it really good for slicing. There's just a bit of a belly there, and then it's a straight edge. The point on this blade is quite strong, so it's great for piercing, very stabby. And, it's a very, very light, comfortable knife. Are you ready for the specs? Let me find my little graphic representation that I'm doing the specs now, and we'll talk about the specs on this thing. 83 grams, 2.95 ounces. Yes, this 2.95 ounces is a very, very lightweight for this size knife. Like, it's a big, full-size knife, 8.5-inch knife. So that's great. Let's talk about the dimensions. The factory sharpness. I did my 3 tests, but I didn't average the numbers out. So I'll put that number on the screen right here. What this number is, it's the amount of pressure that it takes to push through a filament, this plastic cord, if you will, to cut through that cord. It's a standardized cord for standardized equipment. I've got really good sharpness testing equipment to get standard numbers, so I'm doing that. And I'm doing a sheet where I'll have a public sheet that you can look up, just like Peter does over on the Cedric and Ada channel, so you can see how his edge retention testing's done compared to different steels. I'm going to put up a sheet that talks about the factory edge, so how sharp the factory makes the edge, and that's going to be posted by the end of February. The cutting edge is 9.07 centimeters, 3.57 inches long. So they're saying it's 3.6, so that's right on the mark. Blade length, so closest spot on the FRN to the tip, 9.4 centimeters, 3.7 inches. The blade thickness, 3.2 millimeters, that's 0.126 inches. The blade depth, its biggest right back here after the jimping ends right there, 2.37 centimeters, that's 0.933 inches. The thickness of the edge right behind that final grind is 0.47 millimeters, that's 0.0185 inches. Excellent, excellent, nice thin behind the grind, and very consistent for a long distance, having that nice thinness. The grind angle on this side, the show side with the word Intrigue, 18.8 degrees. On this side, 19.7 degrees. So there's less than a 1 degree difference from one side to another. Whoever's doing the sharpening over at the factory making these steel wheel knives has got good hand-eye coordination, good control, keeping the same, very close to the same angle all the way across. So it can be done by hand, but a lot of factories have much worse sharpening jobs done than steel wheel does. The handle now, get that all the way on the screen. The handle length is 12.19 centimeters. That's 4.8 inches. The grip area, it's quite subjective, because how do you say exactly where to measure, the area that you can grip? But 10 centimeters, 3.9 inches, that's roughly this distance in here. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, 1.2 centimeters, 0.472 inches. So it's a fairly narrow knife compared to a lot. Most are just a little bit thicker this way. The handle depth is biggest right here, 2.55 centimeters, 1.004 inches. And when you close the knife, it's biggest right up here. That is 2.99 centimeters. That's 1.18 inches. And the total length of this knife with the blade deployed from tip to tail, 21.63 centimeters, 8.52 inches. That's the rough specs. Well, not rough. I measure using a nice digital vernier caliper so I can get these nice measurements for you. I measure every single knife every single time, because sometimes the numbers that you find on even manufacturers' websites and at stores just are not accurate. Sometimes they're off by a lot. How much does this cost? This knife is listed for $42.95. And you can grab that at Steel Wheel all day long, or you can put in my coupon code CCE and get 10% off. That's $38.65. The smaller version, which is the F45M, is a few dollars less. That's the information for the price. Fit and finish of this knife, I'm labeling it as good. And it's totally because of my subjective feeling of not liking the look and feel of FRN. So if you don't mind FRN, this deserves an excellent rating, because it's built very well. It feels really good in hand. They did a good job, cleaning up all the edges and, inset those liners. Everything's done very, very nicely. And the holes left here on this side for, the pocket clip, it doesn't make the knife look ugly that they're there. And I really like that they did that. Kudos to Steel Wheel. I wish everybody would be making right and left pocket clips, because there's left-handed people out there who just benefit from having a left-hand pocket clip. The logo and the writing that they do on the blade, it's not a really dark black writing. I like it kept nice and small. They could have, in my opinion, I'd like their logos and stuff to be a little bit smaller, but it's not bad at all. I think they'd be wiser if they put it on the flats as well, because writing on the main bevel here tends to get rubbed, and there's room on the flats that they could have put their logos and words up there. More pros and cons here. I like the red standoffs. That's nice, a really nice touch. That's something you can do yourself on any knife. You can buy aftermarket standoffs and, replace them on your knife if you want to. Give your knife a little bit of bling if you want to. Or if you want this to, not have this nice highlight touch, you can go get black ones or just satin ones and put them in there. Buy them at knife supply stores all over the place. The pin for the lanyard, that's a nice touch. Just make sure you tie off your lanyard tight enough. I don't really like pins and stuff like that, because your lanyard can move forward and come around to this side, and then you've got your tip of the blade, cutting at it and things. That's why I prefer, if there's going to be a lanyard, that there's a hole, but the pin's not a bad idea either. Some people really like that. Good grip in hand. Almost any grip feels really good. You can even use that section there to pull forward if you want to do a little more delicate work. Just be careful, because your finger's close to the edge. Pinch grip up here, reverse grip, very, very comfortable. The only grip that's not very comfortable is the reverse pull grip, because it's just really sharp here and hard and hot on your thumb. But that's a whole load of grips that work very, very well, and on none of them does the pocket clip get hard and hot. It's because they've bent over the tip of this pocket clip right there. It's very comfortable in hand that way. The liner lock is just awesome. I'll give you a picture of the lock up here. No blade place side to side, up and down. Blade centering is very good. Easy to adjust it. We've got a captured pivot pin, and so you just have to adjust that screw a little bit to change how loose you want this to be. If you don't want it to fly open like that, you can just tighten it up a little bit more, and you know, it won't fly open with that kind of authority. And if you loosen it up a little bit too much, then you're going to start getting blade play side to side. So you find the sweet medium, and it's just awesome. Very light in the hand. I like that. You put it in your pocket. It's not going to tell you that it's there all day long. The jimping that they have is functional, not too aggressive. The balance point is perfect. Whoop. Let me get it back here. Get my finger on it. So there, well, my hand's just shaking. So the balance point is exactly where I want it to be, just where your index finger wraps around this knife. Very, very good. What are the cons on this knife? I'm sorry, I don't have any cons for this knife. Just that subjective one about, you know, the FRN not feeling how I'd like it to feel. You know, it does, well, maybe it feels a little bit, this also subjective. I'd like the handle to be just a little bit thicker. And again, that's me because my hands are large, bordering on extra large, right between those two sizes. And, you know, this knife is going to be comfortable in smaller hands as well. It's got the length for a big hand, and it's got the weight really light and the thinness for small hands. So they've done a really good job for suiting just about everybody. But if this is too much knife for you, you know, they do have the blade that's 3.26 inches long, and you know, the handle's a little bit smaller on that as well. So they've got the same styling with two sizes, and I think that's really smart. But I do think they would have been smarter to have one size that's, you know, 2.99 inches, because there's a big community. There's a lot of people that live in places where there's a law that's saying that you can't have more than 3 inches. I've been chatting long enough, talking your ears off. Thank you for watching me this weekend. Thanks for coming by and check out my channel. The video about the terms and terminology, it's going to be coming out soon. I've been working on it for a while. Thanks for your patience. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.